This episode is proudly supported by Westholme Australian Wagyu. Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything, especially when it comes to beef. Westholme, based in Queensland and the Northern Territory, Australia, is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. They steward 16 million acres of rangeland, guided by the natural ecosystem where cattle graze and forage on native grasses for the first few years of their lives. The result is high-quality Wagyu beef that reflects the terroir of Northern Australia. Westholme believe that when nature leads, flavour follows. Learn more at westholme.com.
Hospitality is something that should never die. Like the day that we're gonna have robots cooking and robots serving us, I feel we kind of fail as humanity all at once. Then we will lose stories, we will lose flavors, we will lose umami ideas. So something that a machine will never ever be able to recreate or not even describe.
Hey there, welcome to Dirty Linen and another episode digging into the world of food, drinks and hospitality. This is your host, Dani Valent, with you, and as always, thanks for being with me. We have got a wonderful chat for you today. I was prompted to speak to Melissa Ammirati, the manager of Oborozuki in Sydney, because I've just appreciated so much recently some beautiful front of house experiences in restaurants. Now, that's not specifically about Melissa. I haven't even been to Oborozuki yet, but having listened to her speak about it, I am super keen to visit this Sydney restaurant. But so many times I've just had an absolutely winning experience in a restaurant because of the front of house experience. I'm all about the food, of course. I love the food. I appreciate the art of chefs, and we certainly speak to a lot of chefs on our podcast across the Deep in the Weeds network. But how about front of house? It's an undersung art, skill, career, and I'm really happy to shine the light on it. So I hope you enjoy this chat with Melissa and appreciate your own front of house magic. Melissa, welcome to Dirty Linen. So great to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Dani. Thank you to have me.
So it's so great to be chatting to you. I'm really looking forward to digging into the arts and intelligence of working front of house in restaurants. But for people such as myself who haven't yet been to Oborozuki, tell us a bit about the restaurant and what it offers.
Fantastic. So Oborozuki, as I was saying, is a hidden gem in Macquarie Street, just before the Opera House. We are a French-Japanese fine dining fusion. We've just been blessed with one hat. What else? It's a place that has been started as a omakase, which is a 9 courses Japanese traditional cuisine, and now become much more than that. It's split in 2 floors. So we have in the above floor with the teppanyaki. So we kept it very, very traditional up here. And then we have in the main dining area with the French and Japanese fusion. We do have an head chef, she's a woman, and we do have very much woman mind. So yeah, as I was saying to you, the thinking mind are women's, and obviously we don't hire only them, but yeah, this is pretty much the idea behind the caring, the details, and obviously the super high quality of food through our head chef, Dani.
Yeah, so beautiful. So, I mean, what are some of the dishes that you think are really spectacular that people could perhaps have when they come?
I would say everything, but something that really shocked me when I tried it was the duck. I always hated duck, and I always disliked it wherever I go, because I think it's something that you can mistake so quickly and so easily. Our duck is simply magical. There are people that they keep on texting me about it after month. There are few also reviews about only the duck. So yeah, I would say the duck is something that people shouldn't miss. And then fresh fish overall, we do receive fresh fish every day, something extraordinary also is the Glacial 51, which is a rare South American swimmer fish. So yeah, everything pretty much, but I would say the dark and mains, maybe towards the dessert also with the sake baba, which is our concept. We do work with the nitrogen, so we do create some smoking effect, which actually will reproduce the meaning of Oborozuki. As you know, Oborozuki means the lovely fog around the moon on a winter night, and we managed to capture the exactly same fog in our signature sake baba dessert.
Oh, I didn't know that. You're educating me a lot.
Have you seen? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Melissa, you have a pretty long history in hospitality. Tell me about your family background and how you got started.
Sure. So I come from North Italy. Precisely, I come from a city called Treviso, which is nearby Venice. My family is a very traditional Italian family, I would say, and we definitely don't come from a wealthy generation. My father is disabled. He has one leg shorter than the other of 11 centimeters, and he's still working today. That is 76 years old. So I always been raised by hardworking people, and I couldn't really stand the idea of watching my father working by himself with my mother, so I always wanted to help. Therefore, I jumped on the floor when I was 8. I was bribing the waitress of my father to being told what to do. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be part of the effort. So I started when I was quite young, maybe too young. And then I moved towards Australia when I turned 18 after I finished my hospitality diploma back in Venice. And therefore, I kept on working. I kept on wanting to see every aspect of the hospitality industry within different venues. So from nightclubbing to hotel to boat to restaurant to a coffee store, cellar, everything.
And Melissa, you mentioned your father, but I also want to hear about your grandfather.
Sure. That's actually something that I tell to the people that I train. So my grandfather died when he was 101 years old. And it was quite sad towards the end. And my mother thought then it was sad because he fell. Then, life was maybe on the last days. Yeah, but that was not actually the reason. So once my mother asked him, and his answer became quickly something that I kept in my heart forever. So the answer of my grandfather was then, he was not sad because he knew that he was dying. He was sad, then he knew then without having a tomorrow, he wouldn't have any prospect of keep on learning. Therefore, what was the point of living? So in my mind, I always thought then, if a 101 years old man can say this, who am I to say that I know? Doesn't matter how old I am. Doesn't matter I'm 13 today. I thought the same when I was 18. And I truly hope I'm going to think the same when I'm 50 and when I'm 60, when I will be that age. I believe the idea of keep on learning and giving to the life an importance, which is not, the money that you make only or the woman that you conquered, but is the improving of yourself day by day until the last day. That's what truly makes sense. And yeah, that was what my grandfather said. That's what I believe, and that's what I tell to my guys when I train them.
Wow, it's such a beautiful memory to carry in your heart and to drive you through your life, Melissa. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, when you talk about that in the context of hospitality, it includes a great sense of humility. Like, how much do you think being humble is key to front of house in restaurants?
I think it's key. I think is the main thing, and unfortunately nowadays is something that it's harder and harder to find, especially in the newest generation. Being humble not only will allow you to go further with your guest, but also will allow you to go further with your results. Coming always from the best place of art and having the best intention behind each single thing that you do for somebody, starting from serving a drink or explaining what they're eating, or simply surprise them with a candle when it was not requested, or maybe when you dig the information down and nobody even told you that there was a birthday celebration, let's say, that comes from being humble and caring, especially.
What are some of the other skills that you try to impart to your team when you're training them?
Reading the room, reading cues, and actually understanding different nationality expectation and different nationality way of behavior. That's something hard, especially, for people that they just arrive in Australia, or also simply for people that they don't really hang out with so many nationality. Potentially, there are people that they will never, ever know. So what I tell them all the time is body language, mimic and prosemic. So body language is quite known. Everybody knows what it is. Prosemic will be the distance that you speak to somebody. So there are certain culture then you should always stand one step back and give more space between faces. Another culture where actually if you go closer, they will feel more loved and they will feel less wall between you two. But again, everything starts from reading the right guest, reading what they expect from everything and what the night or the lunch that they want to have simply.
How much of yourself do you think you bring to service? I mean, and in general, like how much of people's own personalities do you encourage them to bring into the dining room?
100%. This is actually something that is in my briefing sheet points. Bring your personality with you. She's also paid to come with you. That's what I tell them all the time when we open up the briefing. I work in major companies here in Australia where there were, thousands of people employed for the same company. And it was very heartless for me. I was suffering from the fact that I couldn't be myself. And with being myself, I'm not saying that, somebody should be unprofessional, but definitely somebody should feel free to feel themselves and to bring their personality again with them. Because we are human beings. Nobody wants to be served by a robot. Otherwise, you will go to an automatic machine and keep on pressing the button until you have your crackers and your juice and then good to go.
We often hear in Australia that there's a different attitude to front of house in Europe, that it's regarded as a proper career and that, you see more older waiters in restaurants. How do you see the differences between working as a waiter in Australia and elsewhere?
I wouldn't generalize everything like just simply Europe and Australia, but I would potentially consider places and places. I work in Australia with some employees of mine that they were 30 years older than me. And I did found them here as I found them back in Italy, in France, in England, and in Europe, generally, I would say. Is more how much somebody feels and this is a real job, and how much their family also allow them to feel this way. In Europe, it's simply normalized the idea of, run a restaurant or own a restaurant. But yeah, I feel that in Australia, potentially because there was not that major culture behind, maybe in terms of years, that's the reason why we don't find many. But let's say 10 years ago, I was surrounded by Aussie people in venues with me. Nowadays, I have 1 in 21 employees.
Oh, that's interesting. So you think things perhaps are not changing for the better?
It doesn't seem like. Obviously, it's still in our hands to, write the future. I'm not a believer of destiny. I believe people, they write the destiny. But I feel management more than ever now should realize that this is a real job and we are giving real careers out and they will see the value. If the management doesn't see the value per se, then what are you really teaching to those people? What are you really leaving behind your, let's say, dynasty? Yeah.
So let's say, you've got a young person who wants to start training with you and take that career seriously, but their parents are a bit skeptical. They're like, is this a real job? Is this really a career? What would you say to the parents about the possibilities that lie in a career in restaurants?
Sure thing. I will tell to the parents then, career is simply something that pays your bill. A job well spent is a day of your life then you didn't suffer. I did work for 6 months in an office during my shoulder injury when I fell down in one of the venues that I was running. And I thought it would have been the solution of my life, being in an office from 9 to 5, having night off, having, evening with my husband. I was so miserable at the end of those 6 months. I was truly not happy. So those parents there, if they would hear my story, would they force me to stay in a miserable situation as long as I work from 9 to 5? Or would they rather have me happy running a restaurant, potentially bringing another hat home and, give something that truly makes a difference?
I love that. So, tell me how you think it does truly make a difference and what is it about your work that does make you so happy?
So what makes me so happy nowadays is the fact that finally there is a place with a great culture. Finally, there is a culture that I can create, and the people that I'm surrounded by, they share this amazing work ethic. I have my sommelier, his name is Kim. He's 22 years old, and the way that he thinks, sometimes he's even older than me. This guy started as a waiter and is now a sake sommelier. He begged to have a proper scholarship behind that, so we send in for sommelier sake school, and the results then this guy is bringing home. Sometimes I need to beg him to clock off and go home, and he keeps on working unpaid, and I don't want this. I truly don't want this. But this guy feels that this is the place where he can write his own history and not just be part of something that has been decided by somebody else's. So what makes me so happy now is having this major chance and not risk then anybody else that would steal my credit, like unfortunately, in everybody's career happened. And again, I'm surrounded by strong women. I'm very proud of the woman that I'm surrounded by. Even though, we want to be beautiful, we want to be, good looking at our age, we don't prioritize beauty over talent. We don't prioritize beauty over skills. And that's why I feel I truly belong here. And I wish everybody to find a place of such.
You've mentioned one of your key employees that's a man, but you also talk a lot about, this strong women team. Do you think there's something different in the way that women and men approach hospitality and can lead a business?
Again, no, I wouldn't generalize that much. I met women that are more men than men and men that are more women than women, if it makes sense what I'm saying. But it does matter how much they care. So if, again, they're doing the job just, to have those extra money and round up at the end of the month, then obviously the effort will be based on what they actually expect for themselves. Kim, for example, even though he's a man, he was the one telling to everybody proudly then everybody is a woman around him. He said then his mother would have been proud for him to be around us. So this level of being humble and this level of, recognizing a woman, not just a, sexual image over there, but she can be my mother, she can be my auntie, and she definitely has something to nurture me and teach me. And I wish I would be surrounded by men that they see all of this.
And Melissa, it's pretty tricky times in hospitality for a lot of people at the moment. The economy is not all good and restaurants are finding times tough. How does that affect the front of house experience or the sort of energy that you're able to bring to what you do as a restaurant manager?
Look, to be honest, this is something that I discuss with them and it truly motivates us. Don't get me wrong, we are not suiciding in this idea. We wish that tomorrow the economy will bloom again and, money will run smoothly for everybody. But again, because we work in a high-end fine dining restaurant and we understand we do come with a price. This is how we give you our extra miles. We want people to realize that they're not just paying for high quality of food, they're also paid to have this brilliant service. We truly care because we also know how hard it is for everybody now to afford such a dinner and such an experience. That's how, we can sneak a couple of glasses in, or we can extend your out buy, or we can surprise your partner with a flower bouquet, wherever we can, to make this day kind of worth it, No, not even to force them to come back, but just to allow them to have a beautiful memory and don't feel guilty for the money that they spend. Potentially there are people that they save those money for months before they come and visit us. Those are the people that we nurture the most. We actually tend to give more to who we can see can have less.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, I think this giving, this creating experience, creating memories is really at the heart of what you do. And, I can feel how passionate you are about it. Can you talk about how important hospitality is?
I think hospitality is pivotal in terms of being a human being per se. So being a human being and creating connection and meeting others and dine with them and drink with them is what always will separate us from humans and machines. Obviously, there are different contexts where you can drink and enjoy your time with your friends, but in every extension, hospitality is something that should never die. Like the day that we're going to have robots cooking and robots serving us, I feel we kind of fail as humanity all at once. Then we kind of lose explanation, we will lose stories, we will lose flavors, we will lose umami ideas. So something that a machine will never ever be able to recreate or not even describe.
Beautiful. So what do you love most about what you do?
I'm tossed between people in terms of the people that I train, and potentially the guest and the experience that they can have. I would say training my guys and grow them into the new managers is the main reason why I do this job. I thrive a lot to see somebody growing. Again, like I told you before, I didn't have only great experience in terms of management in my life, and the bad experience are the one that they shape me the most. I don't want anybody to go through what I had to go through. And this is what I do. I simply want them to be themselves. I want to reward them for who they are. I am the first to punish them when they make mistakes, but there is always a reason behind and a scope for them to come to work and spend those, 8, 10, 12 hours with me every day.
Amazing, Melissa. I think you've given us such an incredible insight into the work of a restaurant manager and, the art of front of house overall. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dani. This was beautiful. Thank you.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta @dirtylinen podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.